Hey teacher! Welcome back to my channel. This is Captain Kinetic at ngayon, ituturo ko kung paano gumawa ng randomizer or tambiola in PowerPoint. And the good thing about this tutorial is I'll be teaching you 3 ways to create randomizer only in PowerPoint. Let's get started. Let's get kinetic. Before anything else, I'd like to thank one of my teacher friends who is asking kung pwede daw bang gumawa ng tambiola sa PowerPoint. He wants to find a way to select a random pupil for recitation kasi paulit-ulit yung nagre-recite sa kanyang klase. Sana daw pwede. And of course, what would the PowerPoint superhero say? Definitely. That's pwede. I'm sure, teacher, nakarelate ka sa challenge ni Teacher Maki kasi not all the time na active yung mga students natin, especially now na it's online teaching, online class. You don't have any idea if they are sleeping or doing any other thing, right? So I hope this tutorial would help you to create your own tambiola, customize for your own class, so that you can select in random without any bias yung students na magre-recite. Let's get started. The first way is to use a picker wheel or the spinner. Simulan na natin. First thing you need to know is the class size. I'm sure you would know how many pupils are there in your class or how many students, right? Now, the regular or the average class size sa Pilipinas nung panahon namin is 45 to 50. Yeah. Ganun kakonti yung mga teachers dati. So I'm not sure now. I hope medyo naging okay na yung sistema sa edukasyon natin sa Pilipinas. At sana malesen pa. Kasi sakit sa ulo talaga sa mga teachers yung sobrang daming estudyante. Anyways, let's do this thing. Let's get out from this presentation and work on this slide. So the first step is to create a chart. Let's go to Insert. Go to Chart and then select Pie Chart. Hit OK. You should have this chart over here and this Excel over here. Now what we're going to do is we just need to change these quarters to numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's number it up to 30 because there are 30 students, assuming you have 30 students in your class. Oops, there you go. Now 30. Now, what we need to do is to divide the entire circle into the number of students so that we would know kung ano yung size ng isang slice. You can actually just use 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 here, but there's a reason why we're computing for one slice, the size of one slice. So how do we do that? How many angles is one full circle? It's 360, right? Divided by 30 students. That gives us 12 units per slice. So, palitan lang natin to ng 12. Lahat. Okay, and that's it. And let's go back to our slide. Close natin to. And you should have a pie chart with 30 equal divisions. Now, depending on your preference, pwede mo nang kulayan or i-format yung chart mo. Let's get rid of this one. We're not gonna need it, even with this title thing. My preference is to use alternating colors, just like what we have on the next slide. So let's select this thing at mag-alternate coloring tayo using this color. Select the next alternate slice and then hit F4. When we hit F4, it means reapply whatever movement that you created, that you did previously. Again, hit the next one, F4, next one, F4, next one, F4, until we are finished. Okay, now the next color, let's just stick to the black one. This one. Alternate again and then F4 and wait for the rest. Now that looks better for me. Okay, let's get rid of the outline. Select it and then go to Shape Outline and then select No Outline. So here's where it gets interesting. If you have so many classes with different class size, what I would suggest is that you create a copy of this one. Copy and then paste on the same slide and then make this thing smaller and then park it outside the slide so that whenever you have a class that has like 40 students, you can just make this thing bigger and then reveal the data and then add additional rows. Of course, you would need to update this one depending on how many students you have. Okay, So with this one, what you're going to do is to select it, cut, and then go to paste, paste special, and then paste it as an SVG. It means a scalable vector graphic. When you do that, you will have this thing. Okay, automatically, you should ungroup it, hit yes, then ungroup it again because it's a group within a group. Now, we have each slice as an SVG, meaning this one is a scalable vector graphic. Whenever we want to increase it, it's not going to deteriorate in terms of the quality. It's just going to stay with the same quality. So let's undo. Next thing that we need to do is to label all these slices by the names of the students. I already have names here, so we don't need to do that. Let me just copy the names here. Okay, let's start with random names. Matthew. With the first text box created and the first name type, it is highly recommended that you format this text so that you can just copy it later. I'm going to choose this one, and also I'm going to make the spacing a bit loose. All right, let's start position it here, and then rotate it so that it's going to fit nicely to the slice. Don't forget to change the color if it's too dark so that it's going to stand out. Next thing, we can now replicate this text box to create for the other labels of the other slices. Just copy, Control C, and then Control V. And what you want to do is to select this thing right here and then go to Format Shape, go to this one, to Size and Properties, play around with the rotation. Now, the reason why we computed for the 12 units for each of the slides is for this rotation. You simply need to increase this 286 by 12, meaning you need to click on this arrow up 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now that's better. You can simply reposition it. Do it to the next ones. Copy and then paste, and then click this thing 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reposition, and then do it for the next one. Copy and then paste. Click this thing 12 times. Or you can just make this 322, right? Reposition it and do it for the rest of the slices. Once you're done with the first slide, what you can do is to select all these labels right here and then hit Control G to group them, and then create a duplicate by pressing Control Shift, then drag this thing to the left. Now we have a duplicate. What we're going to do is to flip this thing horizontally and also vertically. Flip this thing vertically too. There are some bits of adjustment needed, so go ahead and make them. It's time for us to type in the real names. Now let me just copy this thing as reference for me in naming all these names. We're done naming all these slices or these segments. Now we need to select them all, group them, Control G. Now it's a group. It's time for us to apply the animations. For it to rotate and stop whenever we click it. Select the group object, go to animations. We need to bring out the animation pane first. Then click Add Animations. We're going to apply 2 animations for this group. The first one is spin, so let's select spin. Now it's spinning. Double click on this animation here. Then let's make the timing fast, or 1 second. The repetition is until the next click. And then the trigger, meaning this animation only happens when we click on this group. We're done with the first animation, so let's go ahead and apply the second animation. Go to Animation, Add Animation, but this time select Appear. Double click on the second animation, go to Timing. The trigger is the same trigger that we use for the first animation. Hit OK, and then that's it. Let's try. And hover your mouse at the center or inside the group and then click it. And when I click it again, it should stop. I'm going to click in 3, 2, 1, click. All right. I'm going to do it again. Click it. It's going to spin. And I'm going to click back in 3, 2, 1, click. Perfect. We're done. So next thing we're going to do is to import this thing that we just animated into our slide design. So I'm not going to teach you how to create or how to design a slide that is appealing for your audience. Any design is good, but if you try to put some effort in creating a design, a slide that is appealing to your pupils or to your students, that's best. So I'm going to replace this thing because the other half of this wheel is not good. So let's delete this thing. I use an image here. It's a cartoon, but you can definitely use an arrow. Just like this, okay? I'm happy with this image right here, so I'm gonna use that. Let's paste our object, resize it, so it's gonna fit. I think that's good. Let me just cut it again, and then take this circle right here, and paste it back, and then put this thing in front, and put it at the middle. That's it. Let's try it one more time. Play, hover your mouse at the center, then click. Let's hear it from May. That's the first way on how to create a randomizer using PowerPoint. Easy, right? The first step is to make a pie chart and then format it. Then paste it as SVG. Label the segments. Group the names and group the shapes and the names. And then animate it. There are two animations that we're going to use. The spin animation, 1 second duration, and then repeat until next. The trigger is the group that we created using this step. The second animation is the appear animation. The trigger is the same as the first animation. Next one is to import it to your design. And then optionally, you can also add sounds on your spinner. That's the first way to create randomizer in PowerPoint using the spinner method. The next one is the slideshow method. How are we going to do this? I'm going to teach you how. In order for us to do this thing, we need to create a new file. So let me get off from this presentation, and then let's hit Control N for new document, and then we can type in our names. So I'm going to use the same names that we just used a while ago. Again, once you type the first name, select the text, and then format it. I like to use this font, and I want to use a different color. I want to go to Design, and then use my brand color, Kinetic Slides. This color, I want to make sure that it's big enough. This is the only thing that we're going to put in here, the name. So we want to make sure that it's centered, and I think that's okay. We just need to duplicate this thing 29 times. And then let's start populating the slides one by one with the right names. This one is going to be Mercy. Now that we have our names typed in on the individual slides, select everything, go to Transition, Duration, make it 2 seconds, and then let's click this box right here. So it's going to advance or transition after 0 seconds. Then go to Slideshow, set up Slideshow, and then hit Group continuously until escaped. Once you're done with that, hit OK. Let's try. Let's set this deck on presentation mode, and it should automatically randomize. Start this presentation. Then if I want to stop, I'm going to click the arrow up button. If I want to resume, click the space bar, and it's going to resume. Then if you want to stop, click either the left button or the arrow up button. So I'm going to choose the arrow left button. It's going to stop. That's it. That's the second way to create a randomizer using PowerPoint. Let's escape and go back to our deck so we can recap the steps that we took in order to create a slideshow. Please don't forget to subscribe to learn more about PowerPoint and how to use them on your classroom, on your reports, or on your work. So the first step is to customize each slide. There are actually 3 customizations that you can do. The first customization is to just name the slide, just like the one we did. The option 2 is to put a headshot. And the option 3 is to put both the headshot and the name. Once you're done customizing your slide, apply transition on all slides. The duration is 2 seconds. And don't forget to click this box right here so that the slides will advance after 0 seconds. The third step is to set the slideshow such that it's going to loop continuously until escaped. And that's how you do the second way to create a randomizer only in PowerPoint. We are now ready to find out the third and final way on how to create a randomizer only in PowerPoint. And it is the clock style. Again, you need to determine your class size in order for you to do it. And let's get back to our workspace and off from this presentation mode. For instance, we only have 15 students on this class. What we're going to do is to create a clock style randomizer for 15 students. Go to Insert, go to Smart Art, go to Cycle, select this thing, and hit OK. Now, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4 circles here. We're not going to need this thing. So in order for you to increase it, just right-click on this Smart Art, click Show Text Pane, and then just enter until you have enough number of circles. So right now we only have 4. We need to enter 11 times so that we can have 15 circles all in all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now you have 15 circles. Let's escape from this one. What we're going to do next is to ungroup this thing here. Ungroup and ungroup one more time. Now there are separate shapes. We just need to delete the things that we don't need. So we don't need this thing. Also this thing. And even this big circle right here. Select all of the circles and then resize them. Go to Shape Format and then increase it. Make sure that whatever height we're going to use is also the same width. So let's just copy this thing if we're happy with it and then paste it right here. Make sure that they are not overlapping each other so that it's going to be clear who is the person being called or being pointed to by the arrow that we're going to put later. Now I think that's better. Next thing that we need to do is to replace all of this with headshots. How do we do that? Just right click on this circle, go to Format Shape, then Picture or Text Fill and hit Insert. Select it and then hit Insert. Notice that the images that I'm using are all 1 by 1. The size are 1 by 1. If it's not 1 by 1, it's gonna be a funky. The result is gonna be funky. My recommendation is to crop all the pictures that you have before using them as the image for this randomizer. Now we are done populating all the circles with the images of these kids, of your students. Select them all, group it, and put it in your design. Since it is a clock style randomizer, what we are missing is the handle of the clock. But this time, since we are only selecting one pupil at a time or one student at a time, we just need to make use of one arrow. So let's insert an arrow here, format it. Let's remove the outline and make it white. Now it's time for us to apply animations on this arrow, so it's gonna randomize. Click on it, go to animations. Let's bring out the animation pane and then let's click add animation. Of course, we're gonna select spin. Double click on this thing again so we can change the settings. Make this 1 so that it's gonna be fast, 1 second, fast. Repeat until the next click, and the trigger is click of group 16, and this is group 16. Let's add one more animation. Select on this arrow, add animation, hit add animation, and then select spin. Double click on it so we can change the settings. Go to timings, make it 2. Just retain this 2 seconds right here. The trigger is start effect on click of group 16, just the same. Let's test it out, blow it up. You're gonna need 2 clicks for this one. The first click is for it to spin, and then the second click is for it to stop. First click, spin. Second click to stop. It's gonna be faster and then eventually it stops. Let's try it one more time. Click and click. Okay, so that's the third way on how to create a randomizer using the clock style. Just a bit of recap on the third way to create randomizer in PowerPoint. Step 1 is to insert smart art graphic, the radial cycle. Step 2 is to add circles depending on class size. Step 3 is to convert smart art to shapes. Next, remove unnecessary shapes and resize the circles, making sure that they do not overlap each other. The fifth step is to fill the circles with images that are 1 by 1 in size. Otherwise, it's going to be a distorted image. Sixth is to insert the arrow and then animate the arrows. 2 animations. The first animation is spin with 1 second duration and it's repeated until the next click. Trigger is the group. Second animation, also spin, but this time the duration is 2 seconds. The trigger is also the group. That's it. The first method is by the spinner method. The second method is the slideshow method. And the third method is the clock style method. Now, you might be thinking, what is the best for my class? I'm going to help you decide using these features that I created for myself. I hope it's going to help you. By the way, if you're new to this channel, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of any upload that is helpful for you to be knowledgeable in terms of how to use PowerPoint in your class or in your school or in your work. We also have a Facebook group of PowerPoint superheroes, the ones who are willing and excited to learn PowerPoint tricks to use it as a side hustle to earn dollars in their spare time. So if you're interested, click on the link on the description for the Facebook group and we would be glad to welcome you in the exclusive group. Okay, let's take a look at the pros and cons of the first method, the spinner method. First, it's handy because you'll only be using one slide, but it's not good for a larger class size. So I think the recommended number is from 30 to 40 students or pupils in a class. Also, it demands time whenever you want to update. That's why I recommend that you always make a copy of the editable chart before you paste it as an SVG. Next, it is not visually flexible, meaning you'll only be labeling the segments. There's not going to be a chance for you to put some images on it if you want to spice it up a bit. That's it for the spinner. Now let's go to the slideshow. What are the pros and cons of this slideshow method? It's good for a large class size, yes, because the slide counts in PowerPoint is unlimited. Next, it's visually flexible, meaning you can put some headshots in it or both headshots and the names of your students. The next one is the clear identification of the pic. That's because it's going to show up one slide whenever you try to pause this transition. Unfortunately, it needs to be on a separate file. That's it for the slideshow method. And last one, the clock style method. It is handy. You'll also be using one slide for this one. It's visually flexible because you can also use images for this one if you wanted to spice it up a bit. However, it's not good for larger class size. So as you can see from our example, we only used 15 headshots of children. That's because if we decided to increase the number of students, it's not going to be so clear. We'll have to zoom in on the images so that we can figure out who the arrow is pointing to. It also demands time upon update. And last one, the pictures needs to be one by one. Otherwise, it's going to be funky or it's going to be stretched. So I hope this list of pros and cons could help you decide which one is best for your class. At the end of the day, you are the teacher and you know what's best for them. But for me personally, this is my final rating. Slideshow is the best. So teacher, can you please do me a favor? Kung pwedeng paki-comment sa comment below which one is your best or your favorite that you are going to use for this for your class. Also, I have a gift for you. I don't normally do this, but I wanted to share the template that I just created for you so that masundan mo tong tutorial na to. I hope it's gonna be helpful. You can have these templates by following these 3 simple steps. The first one is to subscribe to this channel. Definitely, ikaw din makikinabang because all the rest of the uploads that I'll be putting on my YouTube account is geared towards helping students and teachers to increase their knowledge on how to use PowerPoint for school or for work. Next one, join our Facebook group, PowerPoint Superheroes, to get access to the link of the file. The third step is to look for the video related to this freebie. So that's it. Free randomizer template for you with only 3 simple steps. If you think this is helpful, please don't hesitate to share it to your co-teachers so it can also help them as well. Thank you so much, and as always, stay awesome.